Kimberly here. This is Macabish, Cults, Classics, and Horrors. We're talking films, series, books, and life, and we're starting right now.
The video village wasn't positioned where I could see it, so I couldn't really see the shot. It came out pretty good. We got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but it's funny. Everyone was just going, "Oh, so gross." And that guy is actually a huge YouTuber. The guy that gets his penis chopped off.
Oh, okay.
Brian Tyler Cohen. He's a big political YouTuber.
So with Knucklebones as himself, like as an icon, have you thought about giving him like an iconic weapon like all the other slashers, or like you want him to be more like where he just picks up whatever's near him?
That's a great question. When I wrote him, I wanted him to use just whatever he could grab, because so many, I mean, it's part of the formula. It's like, what's the iconic weapon? It's like everything's been used. And, you know, I didn't want to use some obscure thing. But then as Bob started working, designing him and fleshing him out, he wanted to emphasize the knife, the World War II knife. So it shows up in a couple places, but I'm from Texas, so I had to have a chainsaw. So I wanted a lot of chainsaw. And it's funny, we have a scene where like the kids set out all the murder implements on the ground. That was like one of our original T-shirts was, you know, axe, hedge clippers, chainsaw. And so the idea is that he just grabs whatever. You know, he's obviously a kind of an amalgamation of Freddy and Jason. Those are my two favorites. And I wanted to be big and powerful with, you know, vicious kills like Jason, but I also wanted him to, you know, have the mean spirit of Freddy with the one-liners and everything.
When he chopped up Travis's hand, that knocked me out. That was great. When he thought he was going between the fingers and he was not at all, that was awesome.
The mumbly peg, yeah. And
yeah.
The line is hard to hear, but that was Bob's line. He goes, "I never was any good at that."
Right.
Yeah.
That was great.
So, yeah, that was all Bob. That was his line. So, and but yeah, mumbly peg. There's a couple homages to Alien. I'm a big Alien fan, so that's like the Aliens homage. And then when he leans in and like slobbers on Nisa's face, that's like the Alien 3 shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always wanted to have I wanted the kids to drink real beer, so Lone Star actually was a sponsor of the movie. They were the official sponsor of Knucklebones.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So and it's a plot point. It's very important that we get Lone Star, and they were super gracious and provided us with free beer during the shoot. So that was awesome. The only stipulation is that they couldn't be underage. So everyone goes, "God, these actors are so," I'm like, they had to look old enough to drink. And I had to say they were college students to be able to use Lone Star beer. So
that makes sense. So it makes sense when that girl was peeing in that room and she found that random bottle of beer. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
She's trashy.
Hey.
She pops a squat. That's what Texas girls do. Pop a squat.
Random beer with butts in it? Probably. Go for it.
Okay. It was a bit much.
But yeah, I needed that second wave, that second group that you brought in, because otherwise, what was the movie going to be? It's kind of over. Or the last thing was for the sheriff to come in. He did the one thing I always want sheriffs to do, but they never do. Just start shooting.
Right.
Instead of asking, what's going on here? Give me the whole story, even though we're all in danger. He just starts shooting. I was like, finally.
Yeah, and Tom did the stunts on that. That was a pretty good fall, I thought he did when he got shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was always going to be a scene there because they go down into the basement and meet Choctaw, and it's kind of a long time to be away from the killer that's pursuing them because the killer has nothing else to do while it's going on, and he's supernatural. But so I was always going to have other cops show up and do that, but then came up with the idea of the meth heads, just totally random brutalizing. And they're great. And Erin Marie Garrett, she's one of the meth heads. She is going to be in my anthology, Lovecraft anthology.
Now, when you made Knucklebones, like how long did that take from writing to complete?
Well, I had it in my head for a couple of years, the idea for it. And when I sat down to write it, I probably wrote it in about 2 months.
Oh, okay.
And then the raising of the money took about a year. And so I invited a bunch of friends. I raised most of the money from friends to a poker game. The idea being I would pitch the movie to them. So I pitched them the movie before we started playing poker. And then they're like, yeah, we'll think about it. And we started playing poker, and I got almost wiped out in like the first 15 minutes. I was down to one chip. And one of my friends goes, if you come back and win, I'll invest in your movie. And then everyone else goes, yeah, me too. And they're, they laugh. And I came back and I won.
Great.
And then there's also a funny story about the stuffed animal that gets shredded. We went to all these flea markets looking for giant stuffed animals, and we could not find them. So, and I need 2 of them. So just in case. So I went to Six Flags in the middle of the shoot on our day off. And I was just going to buy them from Six Flags. And this guy's like, I'll go in the back and ask my boss. And it was for the ring toss game. And by the time he got back, I'd won 2.
Awesome.
I won them off 1 bucket. So they normally only give you 1 per day, but I was going to buy them anyway. And I won 2, and they let me have them. And they're like, do you want someone to carry those to your car? And I'm like, no, I got it. And that was the dumbest decision. I walked all the way through the park with 2 giant elephants.
That's great. And how long did it take you to film it?
It was a 11-day shoot.
Oh.
So 2 weeks. So we had 3 days off, and then shot it over 2 weeks. It was a pretty grueling shoot, but it's good. It's a great thing about low budget horror is everybody's staying in the same hotel, so it's like it's like a family. Everybody wears multiple hats to get it done. Well, this scene's going to cost a little bit more. We're eating beans tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that was great.
So the effects obviously were entirely practical. As a horror fan, I'm noticing that there tends to be a larger shift back to practical effects over digital effects. As a filmmaker, what do you see as the reason behind that? Is it strictly cost based, or what would be your thoughts on the reasoning behind a lot of productions wanting to do the practical effects over digital again?
Well, I think some of it is nostalgia, trying to recreate that 80s feel. But also, there was a long time where people thought that computer effects just looked bad. Like if you grew up on practical, the newer effects didn't look as good. And then vice versa kind of. But, I always I like computer effects. Like The Matrix made me move to Hollywood. I'm like, okay, as a writer, they can now create whatever I can think of. So I love the advance in effects, but CG blood just doesn't look the same as, old school practical effects. There's only one shot in the movie that's not practical when she stands up without a hand. But everything else is practical and just worked out. Bob, I mentioned some of the movies he did. He also was part of the team on the original Halloween. Like he was with the guys that found the Shatner mask that turned into Michael Myers mask.
Oh,
he worked on the original Planet of the Apes. He designed the tail in Splash, the mermaid tail. And he was on, these guys work in teams. When I say he did, he was with a group of guys. Like when they won the Academy Award for Beetlejuice, their team won it. But he was, he designed the original Predator costume, the one that Van Damme wore. And, he was allergic to it or whatever, and they had to design a whole new costume.
Oh, wow.
So he's just done so much practical stuff, and we're all just I'll tell you where a lot of it comes from is all these guys are haunters. Like Bob loves haunted houses, and we used to put raves on in LA and do all the decorations ourselves. So all that stuff is, practical. Like we recreate the Exorcist in one room, and then, different themed rooms. So it's just fun to get in there with all that stuff and play with it. But also with the director's cut, we added in the gyrocopter, which I know is super cheesy, and it's like one of the first shots of the movie. But Bob just did that out of fun, and I thought it would be fun to put that on the director's cut. Some of the stuff that wasn't in the original, but like, sure, of course, the Nazis invented the gyrocopter.
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
and that's one thing too that I noticed in watching through Knucklebones is everybody, as much as it was a fast shoot and a very grueling, like you said, shoot, everybody looked like they were genuinely happy to be there and genuinely having a good time. Did you find like when on set there was a very strong sort of sense that everybody was just having fun, or what was the general sense while shooting?
Oh, absolutely. When Taylor got killed, she was the first one that died from the exploding during the game. She was bummed that she couldn't hang out anymore, so she pretty much hung out on set the rest of the the rest of the shoot. So yeah, I mean, everyone was having a blast, and especially during the effects, like everyone would come around to watch the effects get shot. A lot of fun, but at the same time, everyone was super professional. Julian was, very professional. I'd seen her; she was like a local scream queen here in Texas, and I'd seen her in a few movies. I would say professional, but also a ton of fun. I mean, we're shooting in a haunted house, but we're shooting in August in Texas. So, I mean, it was pretty grueling as far as that was concerned. Oh yeah, I would be like wiped out at the end of the day, and I'd be in my hotel room, and everyone's down in the hot tub going, "Woo," drinking Lone Star. I'd be like, "Oh man." Sometimes I went down and did that, but I was super draining. But most of these guys work crew, this is what they do. Like as a writer or a director, you're lucky when you get to be on set. So crew is always more experienced and professional. And none of the crew would drink the free beer. I'm like, we've got free beer. They're like, no. It's like until the day was done. So
well, good for them.
Yes, millennials. Just kidding.
I was looking up Julian's. She's been in a lot of movies.
I
was not aware. I'm gonna have to find some of these.
Oh yeah, she was in Cherry Bomb. She was in a show called The Final. They make a lot of movies in the Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of actors around here, and she was in a Boggy Creek movie. I've always been a huge Boggy Creek monster fan, and she had a small part in that, and then a movie called The Final, and cast her based off that, and yeah. And Tom, who plays Knucklebones, has also been in a ton of stuff, and he was amazing. I put his audition on the director's cut Blu Ray on the extras because I just love that audition so much. I literally stopped him because we were scared. We thought he was a crazy man. And
great.
Yeah, and he looked it too with the long hair and
yes.
the like. He comes in like jean jacket and jeans, and he just like, I thought, oh my god, like, did everybody who was at the audition get killed by this guy? Is that why he's in the movie?
No. Yeah, I just had lunch with him the other day. He was signing some copies, and no, he's the sweetest guy. Like my niece plays the little girl, plays the younger sister in the movie. And the first day Tom was being nice to her. I'm like, don't be nice to her. You're gonna kill her. She needs to be scared of you. So
I loved her. She was great. When he came from under that bed, I was like, yes. I was so happy when she shot him. It was great. Thank you.
I wanted her to curse during that scene, and I had pre-approved it with her mother. The night of the shoot came up, and all of my other relatives just happened to be there. and she wouldn't curse.
Aw.
So I was like, fine, I'll get it during ADR. So went to do ADR, but I was in LA and she was in Texas, and she went to ADR, and her grandmother took her to ADR, and the ADR person called me and said, your grandmother won't let the little girl curse. Why is my mom at my ADR session? So, but it's good because there's plenty of profanity in the movie.
She did great.
But yeah, she did a great job, and she was super fun on set. I mean, she was having the time of her life.
I think I'm talking too much. My purchase didn't go through. Wait a minute. Talking about the director's cut, and now I have to see it.
Oh, there's so much good stuff on the director's cut.
When's that Kickstarter supposed to happen for the complete?
I'm not even sure if we're going to do one or not. We have a couple
okay.
other surprises along with the home game edition coming out. So,
Well, if you do, let us know.
Thank you. I'd love it if you guys would help us get the word out. But we're discussing it right now, Kickstarter. So,
Okay.
because I just have the story. I just got to get it out. Got the demon inside of me. What's out?
Great. Oh, I forgot to ask. Is the game called Knucklebones, or is the demon called Knucklebones?
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, ideally, your title has multiple meanings.
Okay.
So ours has 3. It is the Knucklebones, the actual dice, the game we call Knucklebones, and then we just call the demon Knucklebones. That's the characters just kind of refer to him as Knucklebones. So yes, all 3. Yes.
Excellent. And I wasn't going to do this, but Carlos wants to make a horror movie. Do you have any tips for him?
Yeah, definitely. Get really good at poker. I mean, it's just getting cheaper and cheaper every day to do this. So there's no excuse not to do it. Carla, have you written the script?
Yeah. I have a couple going right now, actually.
Well, just raise your first amount of money from wherever for however much, and then tell everyone you're in pre-production.
Really?
That was the first advice I gave me. Obviously, I moved back to Texas so I could draw on favors from family and friends and get good locations for reasonable prices. I would try and do it like a traditional movie. Don't shoot a short, just shoot a feature. Shorts are very hard to make money on. I would say just try and make the feature if you can, and I would try and cast actors out of LA, or there's a bunch of them in Atlanta now, or from a hub, and get a good casting agent. Don't skimp on wardrobe. Hire someone to do your wardrobe, and hire someone to handle your props. One thing you don't want to be worried about in the middle of your shoot is where your props are. I thought it was something we could get away with, but there were so many times we had to halt while, where's the chainsaw? That kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Is that a problem you ran into with Knucklebones, with the casting? Like, because was it like a unionized movie or?
No, it was not. We were going to do a SAG ultra low budget just to get the original Scream Queen from the first Friday the 13th movie. But we just didn't have enough time to make the deal. And, once you raise the money, then it's like a fast snowball rolling downhill. Everyone wants to go. It takes so long to. One thing I would say is shoot it on the best camera you can. I mean, everyone says you can shoot on whatever, but when you start applying to film festivals and stuff like that, they want to know what you shot it on.
Oh, really?
So, you can shoot it on whatever. And if it's good, it's good. But, and there are some cameras out there that, we shot on a Red 1, and our DP was amazing, and he smoked up everything to make it look filmic. But, I always try and, spend a little extra for the best camera. So
good to know.
Do you have any other questions? I can think of lots of stuff.
Well, one thing that might help, I did no introductions, but Chris and Carlos, they're in Canada, while you and I are in Texas.
Hello.
So,
Yeah, I know. I went into my long ramble at the beginning, and I
all right.
listened to one of your other podcasts where the guy was like, "Who am I talking to?" So I learned everybody's names, and then I forgot that I learned them. So
Okay.
great to meet you guys. But yeah, so Carlos, what kind of movie are you making?
Definitely a horror movie. The first one is it's kind of a spirit thing, ghost haunting kind of thing. But I mostly want to stick to horror and like slashers. I definitely want to do a couple slashers. So
one thing I would definitely do is I don't know if you go to horror conventions, but it really helps to get like a known actor, horror actor, and you can usually get them. So that's one thing I would try to do.
I mean, like actually try to ask them at the convention.
Sure, that's why they're there. Believe it or not, I mean, everyone asks them, "Will you be in my movie?"
Mhm.
But that's kind of why they're there. You know,
True. Yeah.
they're.
Well,
I'm gonna go to Frightmare Collectibles here in Dallas, April 3rd, and Felissa Rose is going to be there, and I'm going to ask her to be in my next movie.
Nice.
There you go.
Awesome.
So
Never occurred to me for 1 second to ask them at the convention. Why not? When else are you going to get to see them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
they're going to hate that I said that. But I mean, but it's not like it's when you go to a convention, like if there's a huge long line of people, that's like not the time. But a lot of these
Right.
conventions where everyone's just kind of hanging out for hours and there's some downtime. And during that, you know, all you got to do is mention that you're working on a horror movie, and then the conversation just kind of goes in that because they know, you know. But obviously, you want to go through their agent if you can. Just you know, that's how you can start. It's like, who is your agent? You know, who represents you? And then they'll know why you're asking, and then if they want to keep discussing it, they will. So
Mm.
I find it interesting, I have to say, that you moved to Hollywood just to move back here.
well, I moved back to shoot the movie, and
Mhm.
then I moved back for the launch because my parents are older, and I wanted to look after them. And then COVID happened, and I still have an agent in Hollywood, so I'm still writing spec scripts.
Mhm.
But he's like, "There's no reason to come back right now. I mean, there are no meetings other than Zoom meetings, and you know, if Disney wants you to come in, we'll fly out." So
There you go.
you know, so that's the plan. I'm pitching to the streamers. Look, I just optioned a children's, a young adult novel, Harry Potter, but with time travel novel.
Oh, okay.
I've been producing. I produced a dramedy in New Mexico summer before last. So, and I was strictly a producer on that project. So that was an interesting experience, and went great. And I learned all about, you know, tax credits and all of that, and, you know, how to get the most bang for your buck. So I'm also trying to move into producing more.
That's good.
Because when you make your own movie, you're basically one of the producers. There are a lot of times where it's just you.
Yeah.
So,
You were in Jimmy and Judy?
oh yeah, a friend of mine directed that.
Well, that's great. I saw that. I couldn't remember. You were
You've seen the
Sam,
movie?
but I couldn't remember. Yeah, it's been a while though, because I'm a fan of
Yeah.
Edward Furlong.
Yeah, Eddie Furlong. He was awesome, by the way. I mean, he couldn't have been a nicer guy. Remembered my name. Yeah, my buddy shot that in Kentucky, and he said, "Hey, if you drive out, I'll put you in it." I was like, "All right." So
Awesome.
I drove out there and said a couple lines, and then I'm also, you know, background actor in a couple scenes, and that was fun. That was my one acting thing. I'm not an actor, but I could play also a meth head. So, but yeah,
I'm still gonna watch it again because I can't remember where you were. I'm gonna watch it again.
it's when they're doing the interviews at the cult, and they're just going around to all the followers, and I'm just one of the followers. I say, he can be your savior or your executioner. It's your choice.
All right.
That was great getting to work with Eddie. I mean, he was just amazing. I don't know if you remember, but there was an incident where he got drunk and went into a grocery store and liberated the lobsters from the lobster tank. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was during that shoot. I was there that night.
Oh no.
He made like page 6. It's like, yeah. So,
Oh no.
but it's great publicity.
Well, they say no press is bad press, so.
Right.
Some of that press is bad press, but you know. It's a horror movie. No press is bad press. It's all good.
But you know, and I joke about that incident, and that incident did occur. He could not have been more, I mean, talk about an amazing actor. He had these insane monologues, and he pulled them off in that movie. I mean, it's just crazy. And like probably the best actor, because we workshopped that in LA on stage, and I mean, it's just unbelievable. I got to direct one other actor of that caliber. I got to direct William Hurt on stage one time. That was a trip.
Oh.
Could barely
That's
speak.
awesome.
But it's like when I was a writer in LA, my manager represented a lot of actors, and he would have an actors workshop, and then the writers that he represented would put stuff up for the actors to perform. And he also repped a bunch of directors, and the directors, before they would go shoot the movie, they would workshop it on stage. So we got to work with a lot of actors, and that's where I got my directing experience.
Excellent.
That gave me the confidence to actually direct something. And also going back to Carlos, when you're making a movie, you're basically like the manager. It's like, you know, when when you go to the eye doctor and they're like, do you like this or this? And you go, that's 90% of being a director is people bringing you things. You're like, this, that, like that. And which is great, because as a director, I'm very opinionated about things I know little about. I'm not shy to give my opinion. As long as you have a good crew, you can just, you know, concentrate on working with your actors.
Now, when you're having the movie, at some points you said you didn't remember what was in the movie and what was out of the movie. How hard do you have to push to make sure something's in? Like, who gets to make the final choice on the edit?
Well, you know, I did, but here's just some inside baseball. Okay, first of all, you got a DP and everything is shot digitally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you may love a shot and then boom, you mark it down. That's a great shot. It's in your head. And the DP goes, that was a little bit out of focus. And he deletes it. It's like, so after the shoot, I'd be like, where is that shot at the carnival of the kid on the merry-go-round? So you have to watch out for that. And then, of course, you know, you do an assembly cut afterwards. Your editor will do that. And I mean, it just makes sense to get in there yourself and watch all the raw footage, which is where I saw the movie finally starting to come together. I mean, the editors did a great job, but when you're directing it and you see a shot and you're like, where's that shot in the movie? So then you got to go back in. And I mean, you know, we had a couple editors work on the film and everybody did a great job, but you know, usually the director is in the editing bay anyway, so you're doing it together.
So I always wondered about that. Like, if it's your movie, you're directing it, how is it possible you don't get what you want?
Well, then you go to the streamers, and I won't name any names, and you go to your distributors, and then your movie gets released and you find out all the good stuff was cut out. And they had to do that to satisfy, you know, again, I don't want to mention any companies, but yeah, there are new gatekeepers every day. So you have to fight. I'm sure when I try and put the director's cut up digitally at some point, I will have to do that fight again. That's why I recommend getting the Blu Ray, so you get all of it. But like I said, Germany, they're like, whatever. They're like, they printed like a 30-page booklet of all the graphic images, and they originally designed the cover of the director's cut, that big skull. I tried to get in touch with them to hire the artist to do an original thing, because I love that cover so much for the director's cut. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we don't know where he is. The rumor is he's in a mental hospital.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh my God.
I need to switch
I love artists. Of course, the guy
I
that
hate to switch out the cover.
did that cover is in a mental hospital. So
Of course.
That's what caused them to go there.
There you go.
He watched Knucklebones too many times, and that's what
he
happened.
did, and he totally nailed. I mean, he nailed it. I mean, he focused on that pentagram on the forehead and blood. It's by far my favorite of all the covers.
Awesome.
And they sent me that company sent me like the 8 rejected covers that were all pretty good, but I mean that was just so good.
This is the #1 place for macabish cults, classics, and horrors. For synopsis, reviews, and news, go to macabish.com. Thank you for listening. Signing out until the next one.